paper I'm reviewing today is titled Inter and Intra-Observer Agreement of Canine and Feline Nervous System Tumors. This is out of Veterinary Pathology from 2019 with various EU institutions contributing. Just going through the abstract. In routine diagnostic activity, pathologists may be confronted with nervous system tumors. The lack of clinical information, economic restrictions for additional testing, and the lack of expertise in neuropathology may render the diagnosis challenging. The goals of this study were to assess the agreement in diagnosing nervous system tumors in domestic carnivores among 4 board-certified surgical pathologists without particular expertise in neuropathology and a neuropathologist expert, and to investigate the utility of stains frequently used in routine diagnostic laboratories. 46 tumors, so there were 7 cats, 38 dogs, and 1 unknown species were retrieved, and 1 hematoxylin and eosin stain slide per tumor were selected. Diagnoses were formulated based on histological features and available clinical information. Confidence in the diagnosis was also scored. Subsequently, a panel of histochemical and immunohistochemical stains were evaluated by the pathologists, who either confirmed or changed their original diagnosis. Interobserver and Interobserver agreement and confidence in relation to diagnosis before and after analysis of stains were assessed. The use of special stains increased the complete agreement among surgical pathologists with regard to tumor type from 63 to 74%. Cases with high confidence score had a higher interobserver agreement than cases with low confidence score. These results suggest that pathologists without expertise in neuropathology agree in the diagnosis of most nervous system tumors. The special stains available in most laboratories only slightly increase this agreement. Now, just going through the paper itself, the introduction is very basic, and given the subject at hand, that's very much appreciated. The prevalence of canine nervous system tumors is between 2 to 4%. Gliomas occur in brachycephalic breeds 50% of the time, while the oligocephalic breeds are more commonly affected by meningiomas. In cats, the frequency of intracranial neoplasia is only 0.01%, and meningiomas are more frequently reported compared to other tumors. There is rising numbers of nervous system tumors analyzed by pathologists working in diagnostic veterinary laboratories. Unfortunately, pathologists working in these institutions may struggle to diagnose nervous system tumors correctly. Pathologists' interobserver agreement is a main concern in human neuropathology. Several studies have been performed demonstrating variable diagnostic discrepancy depending on the tumor type and grade. The goal of this study was to assess the agreement among 4 board-certified surgical pathologists without thorough expertise in neuropathology and a neuropathology expert in diagnosing nervous system tumors in domestic carnivores. For this study, 46 tumors were included. For each tumor, 8 4-millimeter thick sections were obtained. 1 was stained with H&E. In another section, reticulin fibers were stained with Gordon-Sweet technique. This technique aids in differentiating peripheral nerve sheath tumors, meningiomas, and gliomas based on the presence of basement membranes around single tumor cells in peripheral nerve sheath tumors, reticular fibers around groups of cells in meningiomas, and lack of stroma and a basement membrane in gliomas. The remaining sections were immunolabeled for vimentin and cytokeratin to support the diagnosis of meningioma, S100 and GFAP for the diagnosis of astrocytoma versus oligodendroglioma, neurofilament and neurospecific indolase to support the neuronal origin tumor of cells. Diagnoses were given before and after evaluation of special stains. Tumor types and subtypes were defined on the basis of classification of tumors in domestic animals with some adaptations. Of the 46 examined tumors selected for the study, 7 were from cats, 38 were from dogs, and 1 case was a carnivore where the species was unknown. Tumor location, as defined by the clinician, was intracranial in 24 cases, intraspinal in 16 cases, extracranial and extraspinal in 3 cases, intra and extracranial in 1 case, and unknown in 2 cases. For just tumor type, before the immunohistochemistry stain, agreement between surgical pathologists was complete in 29 out of 46 cases, so 63%, major in 9 cases, 20%, partial in 7 cases, which was 15%, and absent in only 1 case, which was 2%. With immunohistochemistry stain, the complete agreement increased to 74%, or by an increase of 11%. This agreement was slightly less with tumor subtype. The 38 cases with major to complete agreement without immunohistochemistry stain included 16 meningiomas, 15 gliomas, 3 peripheral nerve sheath tumors, 2 ectopic nephroblastomas, and 1 sarcoma. Among the 40 cases with major to complete agreement with immunohistochemistry stain, there were 15 meningiomas and 14 gliomas, so both of those are 1 less than before. This time there's 5 peripheral nerve sheath tumors as opposed to 3, and then still 2 ectopic nephroblastomas of the canine thoracolumbar spinal cord, 2 sarcomas, and 1 pituitary tumor. So it looks like peripheral nerve sheath tumor, sarcoma, and pituitary tumor improved with the immunohistochemistry staining. Considering the neuropathologist diagnosis as reference, the tumor type for which surgical pathologists mostly agreed with the neuropathologist on the first diagnosis were gliomas, meningiomas, and ectopic nephroblastomas of the canine thoracolumbar spinal cord. They go into more information on how the immunohistochemistry stain changed the diagnosis for some of these pathologists. The bottom line is that if they were confident in the original diagnosis, immunohistochemistry stain only solidified that. But if they were on the fence about the diagnosis, then the immunohistochemistry stain made them less confident. Thus, for the findings, most pathologists agreed amongst other pathologists and themselves, but it was not perfect. The discussion breaks this down further. It does highlight that most of the tumors were meningiomas and gliomas. Therefore, since this is the most common tumor seen, the pathologist might have been more comfortable with the diagnosis as opposed to if they, say, saw a larger amount of pituitary tumors. Additionally, they state if there was gross information, such as MRI, to go along with the histopathology, diagnosis might have been improved between inter and intra observers, stressing the importance of such data. This does seem reasonable, but since this was not investigated in the study, it can only be speculated. They also discuss how the immunohistochemistry stain might be more helpful for some tumors. For example, with peripheral nerve sheath tumors, neoplastic cells are individually surrounded by the basement membranes, while in meningiomas, reticulin fiber surrounds groups of cells. Thus, the Gordon-Sweet technique is helpful for peripheral nerve sheath tumors. Their overall conclusion of the paper, I feel, is fantastic, stating that despite a variable level of confidence, surgical pathologists are able to achieve an accurate diagnosis in a large number of cases. Therefore, neuropathology should not be a mysterious discipline as many pathologists think when dealing with neoplastic cells. For the few complicated cases, a second opinion could be easily asked. Special stains available in most veterinary laboratories only slightly increase the diagnostic agreement, but they represent a good tool to support the diagnosis of malignant peripheral nerve sheath tumors and increase the level of confidence. Interobserver agreement may be further increased by the use of more specific immunohistochemical stains, such as OLIG2 and CUR 7.1. The only question is, how do you know if it's going to be a complicated case? There's also some beautiful images of different stains, which highlights how the pathologist could be less confident in their diagnosis. So if you're able to acquire this paper, please look at those images. They are, again, beautiful images and well done. I do feel one major limitation of the paper not discussed is the reviewers knew they were looking at neurologic tumors. Therefore, they could narrow down their thought process. I get that there will be a lot of times where the pathologist knows the sample originated from the nervous system, but I feel this still skews the results to some degree to maybe be higher in their agreement than what would be seen in the real world. That said, I think the study is well done and provides valuable information. Thank you.